radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. What up? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Monday, December 21st, 355 days into the new year. Just 10 days left. For KJCR on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet, I'm your oh so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Christmas week. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Tonight it's going to be great. Been looking forward to this for a long time. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. Tonight we have very special guest, Michael Houtzager. And we will discuss the life and times of the late Al Bielek. Michael was able to interview him extensively over a 3-month period. We're going to discuss all of that tonight. Have you ever gone and listened, to those interviews with Al that Michael did? They're absolutely amazing. Tomorrow night, Mark Sargent will be here for a full-on flat earth type of evening. It's going to be so flat it's going to go concave. That's the latest. And Wednesday, Ben Moss and Tony Angiola from Hangar 1 are going to be here. They're going to be presenting new evidence with the Socorro UFO incident. Yeah. I mean, like new evidence. It's going to be a great show on Wednesday. Thursday is Christmas Eve. We'll be taking that night off. And so I'll, have plenty of opportunity before then to say Merry Christmas. How come nobody says Merry Christmas anymore? Really? Merry friggin' Christmas. I'll run it in the ground. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I always say happy holidays to somebody that I don't know. Just in case. Okay, we would like to welcome Life Change Tea, and over the weekend, they put together a Fade or Not holiday special just for you guys. So check this out, Life Change Tea right now. Get 2 months, get your 3rd month free right now at Life Change Tea. And I even think you get some free shipping. Demand it. That's what you do. So whether you order online or on the phone, just drop Jimmy. That's all you got to do. Twofer. That's what you're going to get. 2 months and then a 3rd month free. How cool is that? They love the Fade or Nots. I'm just letting you know right now. Go and get her done. Feel better. Do something for yourself. See, that's the thing. Yeah, you help the show. You help Life Change Tea, of course. But what you really do is help yourself. So now we're helping you help yourself. No excuses. No excuses. You want to feel like I do? Life Change Tea. Banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Lots of big announcements today before we get this show cracking. Okay, first off, the Studio Dome, and we got new banners up over. The Studio Dome Christmas special is still on. Everything is over there. Go look at the new banners that we've got posted. It's normal price of $2.99. Get it for $99. Hard shell case, surround sound system, Bluetooth. Go and get it right now, just in time for the holidays. And you got to do it now if you want it by Christmas. Okay, just go and click on the banners. Alien Snowfest, February 5th through the 7th. That early bird special of $179 is running through the holidays, which are running out right in front of us. Okay? Just go to the Alien Snowfest banner, aliensnowfest.com, $179. And you're going to get discounts on your ski gear, accessories, and all of that, too, as well. Okay? $179 early bird special. So many Fadernauts have signed up for it. I am so happy and so proud. We're going to have a great time. And also, the other big news, and this is only part of it, the really big news happens next week, and some of it is kind of leaking out now. But the 14th Annual Conscious Life Expo, which is February 19th through the 22nd at the LAX Hilton. Website is now up and flying. Go and check it out. Now, when you go, you're going to see what we're going to be doing there. I know I've announced this before, but that Friday night, we are going to broadcast a remote fade to black show. Okay? We are going to have, right now we have, I think, 8 or 10 speakers scheduled. If you go to Conscious Life Expo, the banners are up at jimmychurchradio.com. You can go click on it, go over, check it out. You'll see who we have got booked so far. Okay? Then we've got a couple of surprise guests. That's going to freak you out. Okay, so go and check that out. And also, the next day on Saturday, I'm going to host the Ancient Aliens panel. Okay? Go and check that out and check out who's on the panel. And then when you do that, just look to the right and look at that little box that's right there. That's because on Saturday, I'm going to be presenting Linda Moulton Howe with her Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm just honored that they've asked me to do it, and Linda Moulton Howe, LMH. It's going to be a great weekend. So, and what's really cool for you Fadernauts to go and do Alien Snowfest and then Conscious Life Expo, back to back like that, live show at Conscious Life, Alien Snowfest, the luncheon, and me and Barra and everybody else that's going to be there. It's going to be great. February is going to be amazing. That being said, next Monday, we're going to make a huge announcement, and it's a big one. And so just get ready. 2016 is going to be the year. Trust me. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday, Allison. 29 years young. I waited all day to say that. Happy birthday, Allison. Also today, Samuel L. Jackson is 67. Always Pulp Fiction, but have you guys seen The Kingsman? You guys peeped that out yet? It's pretty good. Seen it like 3 times now, and it's good. And Samuel L. Jackson with the lisp rocks it. It's a really great movie. You should check it out. Also today, Mr. 24, Kiefer Sutherland. He's actually Kiefer. I don't think he's one of those one-name guys. 49 years old. And here's one for you. Happy birthday, Jane Fonda. 78. Man, did you guys see her in Newsroom? Did she look 78 to you? Did she act 78 to you? It was more like 28. Jane Fonda, 78 years old today. Our dead guy's birthday today is, moment of silence, please, Mr. Frank Zappa, 1940 to 1993. Died at the age of 52. He's probably influenced me most out of everybody that I've looked up to in my life, both as a musician and as a person. He showed me that you can laugh at life, music, laugh at the world. His albums, Freak Out, the original one, like 1969. Uncle Meat, Hot Rats, Apostrophe, Chic Your Booty, Joe's Garage, every volume. You Are What You Is, One Size Fits All. And One Size Fits All for me, even though Chic Your Booty and Joe's Garage and Apostrophe, I get all of that because I love all those albums. But One Size Fits All hit on all cylinders, at least for me, emotionally. Amazing album. And I think that all of those albums should be required listening for any aspiring musician or politician. In 1994, the International Astronomical Union's Minor Planet Center named an asteroid in Zappa's honor. It is called 3834 Zappa Frank. Happy birthday, Frank. You were and are one of a kind. Twitter. Favorite Zappa moment in music. And now, for all of you out there, I know my audience, and I know you love yourself some Zappa. What's your favorite Zappa moment? I'm going to give you mine. It's Evelyn. And if you've ever heard Evelyn, you know what I'm talking about. Evelyn, a modified dog. That's my moment in Zappa. Although, Bobby, strong, again, from One Size Fits All. But you go back and you look at those moments in Chic Your Booty or Joe's Garage, the Central Scrutinizer, all of that. I get that. And you can go back to Roxy and Elsewhere or Zappa in New York and the Black Page. See, I know what I'm talking about. Those are all great moments. But for me, Evelyn, a modified dog. What's your favorite Zappa moment? Les says, I can't choose. Michael Anderson comes back with 200 Motels. 200 Motels was strong. That was, when I was growing up, that was one of my best friends. That was his favorite album, was 200 Motels. And although he pushed it on me, it couldn't push other things out of the way for me. But 200 Motels is great. 1974, Roxy and Elsewhere. That's what I'm talking about. Allison coming in strong. See, I know my audience. And see, Zappa, I don't want to go into the past, but I also was very honored a couple of times to play golf with Dweezil. And I did my best to behave in the presence of Dweezil. I never did what everybody, dude, your dad changed my life. Didn't do it. I think his dad came up maybe once during one round of golf and one time for a moment. But so there you go. 6 degrees of separation, right? You can email throughout the show, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can also follow me on Twitter @JChurchRadio. Use the hashtag F2B. Hashtag F2B will throw you into the sandbox. I wanted to make a couple of comments really quick before we move on about Coast to Coast this weekend. 2 great nights. Friday night, Micah Hanks. And I thought Micah Hanks just did an excellent job. And he had played a gig earlier that night with his band. After that, I think about it, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. Came on strong, did a great show. And then Saturday night, Andrew Bishago comes on and announces his hat is in the ring for POTUS. And he made that announcement. And that was pretty interesting to see how it lit up things around Coast to Coast. It was amazing to see the phone lines lit up and didn't stop all night. After that, we had Leo Zagami on, and Leo tore it up. And I have never seen the phones out of all the shows that I've done over at Coast to Coast. And I'm just here to tell you, it was a pretty interesting night for the Coast to Coast audience to have a guy like Leo on the show. And it was pretty great. And after we were done, and I just thought, man, I hope that goes off as good as I felt that it did. And then I got the email, and I got everything else. Everybody just hands down loved the show, and it was like whew, wiped my brow, because it was an intense show, but it was great, and I had a good time. And then I also wore the shirt. Did you see the shirt? Did you guys all see the shirt? And I think Fran figured it out first, but I think she cheated. But it was just a great show. I had a great time, and I'm hoping that posting those pictures and stuff inside the studio just let you know it was a great, great mood over at Coast to Coast. With that, let's get to all the news that you know nothing about. On this day in history, it was a busy day, December 21st. 1988, Pan Am Flight 103 explodes over Lockerbie, Scotland. Also in 1988, the Soviet republics proclaimed the Commonwealth of Independent States. The Soviet Union on this day ceased to exist. And also on this day, and it was a big one, Elvis Presley sneaks into the White House and is greeted by President Richard M. Nixon on this day. Oh, man. Fader fact, the King of Norway is 73rd in line to the British throne. And that is a Fader fact. All of the news that you know nothing about. Right before the show started tonight, SpaceX successfully landed its powerful Falcon 9 rocket in an upright position today. A historic first for the company's bid to make rockets as reusable as airplanes. The Falcon has landed, end quote, a commentator said above the screams and cheers of people gathered at SpaceX headquarters right here in Southern California over in Hawthorne. The video images, and they were posted up by Walter. Thank you for that. Walter, I don't know if I retweeted. Do it again, I'll retweet. The images during the webcast show that the first stage of the rocket just came to like you'd kiss your little sister, just a little peck on the cheek in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Absolutely amazing. Could it be the dawning of a new age? This news broke over the weekend, and, well, maybe you know. Anthony Cumia, once half of the shock jock radio team known as Opie and Anthony, was arrested Saturday on charges of abuse after allegedly attacking his girlfriend in his New York area home. Danielle Brand, 26, says she suffered a broken rib, broke her hand, got pretty messed up in Roslyn Heights, Long Island. And then and this is where Anthony messed up. She caught it all on Periscope. And the video uploaded live streaming to Periscope shows Brand describing her injuries and Anthony in the background just losing his mind, asking her to leave his home, wanted to sing karaoke. Have you seen the video? She alleged that he smashed her cell phone, pulled the landline from the wall when she tried to call for help. Unbelievable. Now, I'm going to go on the record right now and just let everybody know. I might be the only guy in the United States to be able to say this. I have never, well, once, a little piece, not live, a little piece, but not once live have I ever listened to the Opie and Anthony show. Haven't done it, don't know anything about it. I listened to a little piece, didn't get it. I don't think you need that kind of language or that kind of material to have a good show. But I mean, that's me. I'm open-minded and I like a good time, but it didn't suck me and I didn't get it. Maybe there's more to it. I don't know. Okay. But 20 years that show aired. And then in 2014, he got fired because he lost his mind for the last time on Twitter. And then now this happens. Right now he's got a show online somewhere. I'm sure it's successful. I don't know. But that's it. His legacy is that video. It's insane. Anthony. Good Lord. You know, you work so hard, and there's so many people out there that work really hard for a successful career in something. It doesn't matter. And you actually get there. You get your Sirius XM gig. And we've seen it before with all kinds of hosts where you go and you get there and you blow it. I don't understand, where you just go off the rails. And the list is long. It's like every single day, some radio host out there is losing his mind. It's nuts. And you go and you do it, and you get the success. You get it. And all you do when you do something like this and you blow it, you blow a Sirius XM gig, you blow a terrestrial gig, a syndication gig, you go and all you do is let down your fans. Yeah, you let down your family and yourself. I mean, have some respect, but you let down your fans. And it's just unbelievable to look at this and look at his mugshot. And it just reminds me of everything else that goes, you know, no, just don't do it. Appreciate what you get. Appreciate it, because nobody got you there but your fans. That's who got you there. It's just so disappointing to me. I watched that video and I just thought, how can you do that to yourself, man? And then just have your fans see that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, where am I? I could keep on going. You guys want me to keep on going? You want me to keep on going? Yeah, Don Imus. There's another example right there, Brian. Yeah, we can name some other names. Let's not go that dark. But yes. What's his name? Tom Likas. You know, owned it, man. Oh, I mean, these guys owned it. Had it all. You know, think about it. All right. United States Air Force have begun to hire private companies to fly drone aircraft operating over Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. The unprecedented move is in response to demands from the Obama administration to dramatically expand the drone war, just as the Pentagon faces a critical shortage of military pilots. Man, all they got to do is go to one of those gaming conventions. That's all they got to do. Man, that's the joystick controllers of life are occurring right there. As a result, civilian pilots will directly participate in military operations for the first time since the drone wars began about a decade ago. According to the Los Angeles Times, the Air Force signed contracts with not one but two private companies in 2015 to provide enough pilots to fly 2 combat air patrols or 24-hour surveillance flights that would involve as many as 8 MQ-9 Reaper drones per day. The Air Force plans to eventually expand its fleet of privately piloted drones to over 40 over the next 4 years. That's what it has come to. Think about it. Just think about it. Think about that. A bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, 40 of them, sitting. Think about that. But I got to tell you, if I owned a drone fleet, I'd want a Halo guy at the helm, at the stick. any version of the game. A pair of American astronauts stepped out on a 3-hour spacewalk today to move a stalled rail car outside of the International Space Station. Listen to this. Scott Kelly and Tim Capra got straight to work and swiftly accomplished their mission. And you're not going to believe how they got this done. In less than an hour, when Kelly gave 2 whacks to a stuck brake handle and got the car moving again. The mobile transporter rail car carries the robotic arm from one location to another on the outside of the space station. Yeah, he got himself a pipe wrench, went out there, and whacked this thing. Is that like nuts? He got it done, though. Scott Kelly. Science. What was he? Science Researcher of the Year. Isn't that what he got last month? The Navy is readying to get a new vehicle capable of landing on water and carrying as much ammo as the Deadly Reaper, as I just referenced in the previous story. This DARPA project is being realized following a proposal from the firm Northrop Grumman, which is due to receive the contract this coming January. Any footage is being kept under wraps for now, and only the LA Press Corps on December 11th was allowed a very limited tour of the facilities where the TERN, T-E-R-N concept, as it is being called, where it is being designed. Yeah, they're expecting to launch this thing from warships, the prototypes, like next year. We're all ready to go. Comet Catalina, more formally known as C 2013 US 10, is the latest cometary visitor that will be put in an appearance on New Year's Eve. That's right. If you want to try to spot the comet for yourself, then there's a great opportunity for you to find it on the nights right at, on, or after December 31st. If you, like me, can drag yourself away from your New Year's Eve celebrations, head outside and locate the bright red star Arcturus. It's in the constellation of Boots. Once you have found Arcturus, scan the area with some binoculars, and you're going to find yourself a fuzzy blob called Catalina. A Tennessee witness at Bluff City reported watching two sets of UFOs shaped like Christmas trees with lights. Yeah, 'tis the season. It's according to testimony in case 73064 from the Mutual UFO Network, otherwise known as MUFON. Now, here's a couple of quotes. At first, I saw them to the left and I was sitting in the passenger seat, but it didn't strike me as odd. Shortly after that, I saw them to my right, just above Holston Mountain. There appeared to be several of them, and it appears as if they were flying in sets of two. One set was traveling side by side while the other set hovered over the mountain, but they weren't side by side. They were one above the other. They mostly resembled Christmas trees and were flashing, and they were in the sky and did not have the mountains or trees as their background. Merry Christmas. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, Michael Houtzager and the life and times of Al Bielek, time traveler. We're going to touch into everything. The Philadelphia experiment, Montauk, how they met. And we're going to do it all tonight. The life and times of Al Bielek. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Merry Christmas, everybody. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.ntax.com.
nattaxexperts.com. That's nattaxexperts.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletzky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight we have very special guest Michael Houtzager with us, and we're going to be discussing the life and times of the late Al Bielek. Tomorrow night, Mark Sargent's going to be right here for a full flat earth, moving on to concave type of evening. Wednesday night, Ben Moss and Tony Angiola from Hangar 1 will be here presenting new evidence with the Socorro, New Mexico UFO incident. The call-in number tonight is 323-825-5045. We'll open up the phone lines in a couple of segments here, or you can Skype in Fade to Black and the number 14. Michael Houtzager graduated from Auburn University in 1982 for industrial engineering, Georgia Tech in 1984 for science of industrial management. He then started for IBM in sales and support for 10 years, and then left to start his own company in internet design and media. Michael created the Al Bielek PC DVD in 2001 to test out different methods in digital media, and the PC DVD is still available at Bielek.com. Houtzager is currently running several websites and companies dealing with the feeding and shipping of live reptiles, generating over $2 million in annual revenue. Tonight, we are going to discuss the life and times of Al Bielek. Michael was able to interview him extensively over a 3-month period. He got to know him, his story, and decided to publish and release the DVD about Bielek. The website, again, is Bielek.com, Bielek.com. I would like to welcome to Fade to Black a very special guest, Michael Houtzager. Michael, good evening, sir.
Well, good evening. Good to be here.
You know, and thank you, Michael, and I know that you don't do this kind of thing often, if at all anymore, and we all, are with you on that, but just thank you for coming on, because Al's story is a special story, and we don't, there is no way to talk to Al anymore, obviously, and the resources out there for that and a direct connection are very few, and you are one of them. And just thank you for taking the time, Christmas week and everything else to come on the show. It's going to be great. Are you ready?
Well, I'm ready. I did my best to avoid the whole Al Bielek thing for many, many years. I had no idea it would get this popular and that many people would be interested in Al Bielek's story. And as you know, my whole life sort of progressed onward 15 years ago. To something totally different. But I agreed to come on the program and talk about my relationship with Al Bielek and the different things that he told me and that I asked him. So maybe there can be some benefit for all the hundreds, if not thousands, of people out there who have questions about Al. And I'll be happy to try to relate to you my experience with him. If that works for you.
Do you miss him?
I had a very intense and close relationship with Al for, maybe close to a year. And in some respects, I do miss him. The part that I don't miss was all the bizarre stories and the way that he made me expand my mind into thinking about things which I I just thought were off the table. You don't even think about stuff. He opened my mind to many bizarre things that are happening out there, which I hope are untrue. But as far as being around an extremely intelligent man, that's something that I truly enjoy. And I miss that part of it. And I miss the excitement that he sort of brought into my life, because the people that were certainly around him were very intelligent and very fun to talk to, but many of the things they said were disturbing. So I miss the intellectual part, but the disturbing parts I don't miss.
Before we get to Al, let me talk about you for a second. Leading up to Al, and I want to know how you guys met and how that happened, because the audience is going to really love that part of the story, because it's very interesting. But let's back up before that. Were you interested in time travel or the esoteric edges of fringe science and ufology and ancient Egypt and all of that? Were you into that type of research?
You sort of gave a background on me as an individual already. So my main focus in life was not aliens or time travel or history. Really, any of that. I was sort of a entrepreneur in a sense, and an engineer by trade.
And you still are. I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what I do, and that's what I love, and that's what I enjoy. However, what I truly enjoy most of all is the art of talk, because I believe through talk, that is the way that I certainly get my information, and I can appreciate those, such as yourself and others, who have that ability to carry on a very interesting conversation. And so way back when, 1999 and all the rest of that, before there was the iPod and before there was podcasts or anything like that, I believed that one day I could envision all that stuff happening before it happened. And I wanted to go on a personal quest to see if I could be one of the pioneers in that field. Now, I wasn't, but my idea was because of Art Bell. And what I loved about Art Bell wasn't his discussions of aliens or anything like that. I loved his ability to conduct the most interesting interviews I've ever heard in my life. And I remember sitting at work, I would stream his programs, I would put it on an audio tape, and that's what I would listen to when I drove back and forth to work. So I knew there had to be a better way of doing this in the future. But to me, Art Bell was like Mozart. And he made it sound so interesting that, I felt that I could do it as well. I felt that he just made it sound so simple. So I wanted to try and see if I could be like an Art Bell. Now, I failed in that effort.
Stop. Let me jump in.
Yeah.
For everybody out there, if you really want some of the most fascinating interview stuff like ever in the history of man, go check out Michael's interviews with Al. And no, Michael, you held your own. Okay, I'm just going to let you know right now. I've already told you I've listened to him so many times. I know them word for word. And don't be shocked. It's good stuff. It's great stuff. And so don't sell yourself short, young man. You did really well. Okay, so continue.
I tried.
Continue.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, I had a good mentor, I guess I could say. That would be Art Bell.
Okay, you just said Art 25 times. we get
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, well, I'm sure he's your mentor as well.
As is everybody that is on radio, sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to try out this new medium, and I wanted to find somebody interesting that I thought I could interview, and I could put these interviews in an MP3 format, and I could put them on a CD and sell them. And I thought that was going to be a brand new market. Turned out it was around 1999. The whole world was afraid of Y2K. And I went to a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was called a preparedness conference. And there were many speakers there, but Al Bielek was there, and he gave a 2-hour presentation. And I remember there must have been 150, 200 people in the audience, and he just captivated all of them for 2 hours. And I've never seen anybody who could do that.
Including yourself, right? Including yourself.
Including myself. No.
Right.
Yeah, people get tired of me after a while, but they don't get tired of Al Bielek. So it wasn't his subject matter that I was interested in. It was the fact that he was so interesting. So at the end of his speech, I walked up to him and I negotiated a deal. I said, I want to try this new thing out where I interview you, and then we capture it. We put it in this format called MP3. He had no clue what that was. But then we're going to sell your interviews over the internet. And he agreed to it. It took me, several months to get ready for it. But he and I went through a period of an intense 3 months where I probably met him 2 or 3 times a week. And he would come to my office and we'd sit down and he'd start talking and I would start listening. And I tried to put together a format of his story. Now, there may be people out there who don't even know who Al Bielek is. I mean, should we go through a little bit about him?
We'll get to that in a second, but this is important. I want to establish the ground of everything. And I want to ask you this really quick before I forget.
Sure.
When you saw him at the conference, what did he look like? What was he wearing? What was, how did he look at that point?
So he was wearing a suit and tie.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yeah, he was wearing a suit and a tie. He's a very stoic type of individual.
Right.
With a commanding presence. And I put in there that, to me, he looked like a 3-star general.
Right.
My dad said, why 3-star? I don't know why. I mean, that was just the image that came to mind. He's not a 5-star general, but he is, to me, like a general. And so he has that presence of authority. And when you look at him and listen to him, you listen to him. So now one of the people that I interviewed, if you notice on the CD, there's a guy named Larry James on there.
Yep.
He was also at the conference. And in fact, he was the one sitting at the table with Al selling books. And I didn't know who he was at the time. But he was there at the conference along with Al.
When the reason why I ask you about what did he look like, because theatrics is half of the sale.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Theatrics is half of the sale, and it's that presence that he has, and it comes across also on video too as well. I never got a chance to meet Al. I never got a chance to interview him. I wish I was a time traveler because that's one of the areas I would go to, but I never did. And I'm very appreciative that you were able to archive and get this down. And not only that, it's not short. You've got hours and hours.
24 hours.
Yes.
24 hours.
I mean, it's absolutely riveting stuff. But he was a commanding guy. He wasn't what I didn't want to hear you say was he came off like a dingbat. He looked like he was insane and he was not in control of himself. But it was the exact opposite, wasn't it?
It was the complete exact opposite. I think commanding presence is the best way to put him. Now, when he wasn't talking, he just seemed like kind of an older man, somewhat meek. But as soon as you put a microphone in his hand and he stood before you, you shut up and listened.
Right.
That was his presence. And what was so bizarre to me was that he had the presence of a 3-star general, but he didn't have a penny to his name, and I couldn't figure out, why does a man like this have nothing? It just simply made no sense to me, because I think in any industry, and I've been, with IBM for 10 years, I had seen hundreds of executives, people in management positions, and in my opinion, he was had a more of a presence to him than anybody I ever met at IBM, and that was a very successful company. So that, and even to this day, I can't figure out why he was penniless. But it was fun to be around him. It was certainly interesting, and you were never bored. Never, ever.
When,
so I can say that.
When off camera, what did you guys talk about?
Oh, you want to get in that now?
Well, we're going to be up against a break because we're going to start talking about the interviews and his past and stuff after the break. But what was he like off camera?
Very matter of fact. He never joked, ever, that I can remember. Again, I want everybody to remember, I did these interviews 15 years ago. So, yes, I spent a lot of time with him, but I do forget things that happened 15 years ago. So, according to my memory of him, I don't ever remember him laughing or joking or being funny about anything. There was no sense of humor to the man. Everything was matter of fact.
There are a few people that I have been around in this genre where when I talk to them, away from other people, that's what I try to do. I try to, find out, what's it, do they like chocolate pudding? Just try to get them off subject a little bit, and they'll go there, laugh and joke, and maybe we can even talk sports or something. But then there's the other side where they are in the zone all the time. And that is them. And it's fascinating to me. It's this thing with, the human being, some can have that ability to get out of the zone, and you can talk to them about other things. But others just don't do that. They don't. I'm not going to name names, but it's interesting that Al was always in the zone, and you never got him to laugh. He was always in the zone. That is fascinating, and I could understand that too, because the way that he does tell his story and speak, he is always thinking forward. Everything is always connected, and it's always moving forward. So I could see that's just his zone. That's his life.
It's interesting you bring that up. I've really never thought about it until you brought it up. But it's almost as if there was this body called Al Bielek, but there was some other presence running him, because he was, and I met him 40, 50, 60 times. I don't know. But he was always a commanding presence every time I met with him.
I was thinking before the show about Al, and what we have is, and I think you and I actually referenced this a few days ago, but I think we have the possibility of 4 Als. We have Al, the time traveler, right? We have that. We have Al, a possible mind control experiment, Al, where he believes everything is real, but it wasn't. Then we have the Al that could be the best science fiction writer of all time, right? It's just all made up, and he's aware of that, and so there's that. And then we have the 4th Al that possibly could just be crazy, schizophrenic, and has invented this world for his own reasons, protection, his childhood, whatever. So we have those 4 possibilities there. And which one, when you look at those 4 possibilities, where are you leaning today, Michael, after 15 years to think about this?
Well, I am leaning toward, there's a high percentage that many of the things he says are correct. There's a percentage. Now, I don't know. I wasn't there. It is my hope that he is wrong. because the things that he said are disturbing. But as time goes on, and I'll share with you later on, maybe after the break, as time goes on, so many of the things that he told me, which I found totally unbelievable, have kind of come true. So, and that disturbs me because I personally hope he lies. I don't like what they did with the boys in New York City.
Right.
That's disturbing, very disturbing. I hope that's wrong. I don't like what happened in the Philadelphia experiment where, people were, when the ship came back, half the people were in the ship and the other people, in the hull and dead, basically. They were melted into the ship.
Right.
I don't like the idea of mind control where, is it true that we're actually, the way we're thinking is controlled by others? I don't like that idea. So I hope he's wrong. However, so many of the things he told me have come true. And I'll share that with you a little later. Now,
you chose to walk away, and you've got a variety of reasons to have done that. Can you share that with me?
Well, I never intended for Al Bielek, Philadelphia experiment, aliens to be my life. I never did. This was an experiment in media for me. I just wanted to find an interesting guy. I wanted to use my skills and try to put together something that I believed in the future would pan out. I thought that, I didn't know they were called podcasts, and I didn't know that there'd be an iPod out there, but I could see it in the future. So what happened was this whole thing with Al Bielek and everything became so popular so quickly. And I started getting phone calls and emails from hundreds of people, it seemed like, who wanted me to time travel them back to the past so that they could correct something that happened.
Wow.
And then, and I can't do that. And then I did get a lot of people that said that they were involved with the Montauk project. And they were looking for a way that hopefully I could help them. And, okay, if you were involved, there's really nothing I can do. And everybody wanted to talk to Preston Nichols and all the rest of the people because they had their own things they had to deal with. But I was certainly not equipped to deal with this onslaught of people that came to me looking for help. So that was one of the reasons why I walked away from it. The other thing is, one thing Al told me was, everybody that tries to help him or do something like this, they all sort of fall on hard times. And I didn't believe him at the time. Like, what are you talking about? I'm doing well. I've got a business. I've got customers. I've got a good revenue stream. I will tell you, right after I published this CD, my customers dried up. My wife left me, and I did fall on hard times. So, now, does that mean it's true what he said? I don't know. Or was it just a coincidence? Now, I've recovered since then. But what you find is in the field of UFOs and time travels and all that, it's hard to make a living in that field. And at the end of the day, we all have to make a living. So I focused my energies and efforts into creating something brand new, even though I was sort of poor for a while, and turned it into a very successful company. But I did not continue in my efforts to figure out time travel and all the rest.
Were you ever threatened?
Not directly, no, but I was scared. I know that after many of the interviews that I did, I would drive home and I would think to myself, this is stuff that I shouldn't know.
Right.
And I would look in my rearview mirrors, to see if anybody was following me. It was too intense, too bizarre. I felt that I was in the middle of something that I shouldn't have been in. And I was thinking, whoa, what did I get into here when I was doing these interviews? Especially like I flew up Larry James. He was in Orlando. He would not do the interviews with me on the phone, so I had to fly him up, and he came into my office, and the recordings are on the CD, but I felt when I heard what they were saying, I felt like I'm being discussed. These people are discussing secret stuff with me that I should not know. So, but I personally was never threatened. No.
With the two of them, and when you listen, their stories. Okay, I'm just going to say this in a direct kind of fashion. Everything seemed to always line up. It was such a complicated. It wasn't just one thing. Time travel. We did this. We went to that year. We came back. No, it involved everything: governments, military, Air Force, children, men, women, scientists, Nazi, Operation Paperclip, budgetary stuff, Congress, names, people, places, dates, and it is extremely complex that covered years. Were you ever able to catch a hiccup in any of it where something didn't line up? I haven't, and so I'm just wondering if you did.
Okay, we're going back 15 years. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I did find a few things that did not line up at all. I can't remember what they were. Especially with Larry. Well, okay, we had Stuart Swerdlow. He was on there. I think you've interviewed him.
Yes, I have. A couple times.
And so his story about Al Bielek was a little different than Al Bielek's story. Exactly what the differences were in 15 years, I can't remember. But I do remember that there was a difference. What Larry James said seemed to be a little different than what Al Bielek was saying. When I questioned them about these differences, I remember the response that Larry gave me was, the memories are like Swiss cheese. There's holes in it. And they struggle to remember exactly what happened. And sometimes in the process of remembering, they don't get it right. Interesting.
Let's take a quick break right there. It's a good spot to do it. Our guest tonight is Michael Houtzager. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tonight we're talking about the life and times and the story of time travel with Mr. Al Bielek. More with Michael Houtzager on Fade to Black when we come back right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
People love to shop. What if you could shop and it was actually good for you? What if you could actually purchase items that bettered your life? What goes into your body is important to what quality of life you have. How about shopping for items that better your health? GetTheTea.com is that shopping place. We're not only tea, even though that's our #1 seller, we are about helping your health. There's Colostrum LD for those of you with autoimmune troubles. The product helps your stomach get on track. GI problems produce pain. Get relief with Colostrum colostrum LD? How about some fat burners? Or maybe some joint aid? Or a power cleanse? There's so much to tell you with very little time. So get help health-wise at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Or you can call our friendly operators at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Get help and relief by going shopping. Shop at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Serving people with great products for over 8 years. GetTheT.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for that perfect gift for the holidays? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. Just in time for Christmas. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best Christmas deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, we do have very special guest Michael Houtzager right here with us. We're discussing the life and times of the late Al Bielek. Tomorrow night, Mark Sargent's going to be right here for a full flat earth, turning into concave type of... Who writes this stuff? Who writes this stuff for me? Wednesday, Ben Moss, Tony Angiola, right here, presenting new evidence on the Saqqara, New Mexico UFO incident. And let's get back to Michael. Michael, somebody just posted a picture of you and Al. You were a dashing young man. It's hard to believe it was that long ago. Yeah, wow. It doesn't feel like it, does it? But
time goes by quick.
Yes, it does. Okay, let's start with Al. What's Al's story? Let's do a brief bio on him, and for the audience, the very few out there that don't know Al's story or his background, so they know now what context we'll be discussing for the rest of the evening.
So again, 15 years ago. So if I get some of the facts wrong, please don't email me and say I got some of the facts wrong. But I'm going to go from 15 years ago in memory about Al Bielek's story. His main claim to fame is he said that he was part of the Philadelphia experiment. What was that? That was an experiment back in World War II where we took a Navy ship and we tried to make it invisible. Apparently the experiment went wrong. And back then, Al Bielek was not Al Bielek. He was a different person in a different body. I believe his name was Ed Cameron. So he and his brother, Duncan Cameron, when the experiment went wrong, jumped off the ship and instead of landing in the water, they landed 40 years in the future. I believe it's 40. And now, what Al said to me privately, I don't know if I have this on the CD or not, but he also went way into the future, into a time when cities were floating. There weren't as many people on the planet, and he actually worked in maintenance, I believe. No, he was a tour guide. He was a tour guide in one of these cities, and he spent some time there, then went back to, what would it be, 1983, 84, and then back to the Philadelphia experiment. So it was all of this time travel stuff that he did created a rift. And as part of this rift, it allowed, I do believe he said it allowed aliens to enter into this space. So now that was one of the things that he was involved in, this time travel stuff. The other thing was in Montauk, he was part of a program that dealt with mind control, and then they also developed the chair, that Montauk chair, where someone can sit into it, a computer, an IBM 360 computer, and I know those well, actually captured vibrations, and this is where they killed the kids, to get the fear. They were able to convert that fear energy into, can't believe I remember all this, into a digital format, and then they ran that through the chair, and the chair produced a energy or a vibration which allowed them all to time travel. So that chair was part of the whole thing. I think what Al had to do was go out and get the kids, and it had to be a boy before they were 13 years old, something about puberty, and they killed them. And it sounded like they tortured them and killed them to get what they needed out of it. That's the part I don't like, and I hope is completely untrue. But a lot of weird things went on in Montauk. It was an underground base. Most people who are in Montauk that I've talked to that lived in Montauk have no clue of any underground bases there. So he was involved in mind control. He was involved in time travel, according to him. He actually said that he had met several aliens, they're reptilians, down there in the bases. In fact, one of the guys that ran the program was a reptilian, and he met him several times and said the guy was a very intelligent individual. So that nets out the whole thing with Al Bielek.
Were you ever able to look into his background independently and try to find out if he was Ed Cameron or who Al Bielek really, that type of background check and where he went to school and try to put together some of the pieces?
Back then, there was an internet, but it wasn't anything like today.
Right.
And so to do that type of research would involve a lot of funds, which I just simply didn't have. And so the answer is no. I did not actually go to his school records. I would have had to gone up to New York to have done that.
Did he have any paperwork? Did you ever see any paperwork about his past or military or DD-214 or anything?
I did not. No, I had pictures of him when he was young, and I took all the pictures that he had. He did a lot of presentations, and every one of the pictures that he used for his presentations, I took a digital photograph of those, and I put those all on the PC DVD. I just simply tried to interview him. I just tried to create a space for him to tell his story.
Right.
I wasn't really trying to prove or disprove it. I was simply trying to tell an interesting story and let him talk rather than me try to dissect it and prove it. I never came to the point where I wanted to prove it right or wrong. I just wanted to let it flow out.
There's one thing that's interesting with your part in this, in that, from your background and an engineering and scientific background that immediately says to me, pragmatic, black and white, you just, but here you're stepping out of those boundaries. And did you Did you at some point really find yourself down the rabbit hole and just wondering for your own sanity and were you confused?
That's a good question. I don't think I was ever confused. I'm pretty logical, and I was able to comprehend and understand what they were saying. However, the deeper I got into it, the more I learned I will never grasp this whole thing. It is too big, it is too complicated, and I do not have enough time to interview everybody involved and understand everything concerning the story. Because as soon as you peel back one layer, there's 10 more. And as soon as you peel back those 10 layers, there's 10 more. And so the question was, is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Figure out these stories, or am I going to try to make a living for myself?
Right.
And that's why I left it.
There was one thing that well, it's not one thing. It's one thing that happened over and over and over again when you were interviewing him. And it's one of the most fascinating parts of Al that it's just for me to wrap my mind around is his ability to, when you would stop and ask him a question in the middle of the interview and he would have to maybe take a right or left hand turn off of the subject matter. But whatever that was, he had the ability to, even if it let's say it's true, it's a true story, everything is true. Well, to have that type of memory recall, on real events is difficult enough. And if you are making it up on the fly, it is 10 times more difficult. But you just said it right there. It was always every layer brought in 10 more. And those 10 layers, each one fanned out 10 times. And that's right. Exactly, it happens constantly throughout the interview, where he would be able to go, you would say something like, well, I'm paraphrasing here, Michael, but, well, what about funding? Well, see, that was another concern because when we went to, and he would just go off and it's just like the craziest thing. And so to be able to piece all of that together it's astounding. And I just don't know how a mind can do that. I can't.
You can. You're good. Here's what I noticed about Al is now he had a lot of canned answers, and when we first started the interview, he gave me the spiel. Now I'm a salesperson. I was a salesperson at IBM. I started out as a systems engineer, but I went into sales, so I know a sales pitch when I hear a sales pitch. So I heard this sort of canned stuff. I heard canned answers. So in my mind, there were, in his mind, repositories of answers, which he was picking and pulling from. The thing I wanted to do was I didn't want him to go to those canned answers. I wanted him to go to his memory of what really happened. So if I sensed that he was giving me a canned answer, I would stop him, I'd interrupt him, and I'd try to change it a little bit. So he would give me the real answer. And I did that many times.
When he would do that, would he pause? Was there the way that it's presented in the DVDs, and I listen to it on audio all the time too, without watching it. I'll just listen. Were there any dramatic pauses, or was he literally on tempo?
You're taking me back 15 years. I don't recall dramatic pauses. I recall a minor pause, but nothing where I could say, aha, I got you. I caught you in a lie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I can never say that I caught him in a lie, intentional lie. I think I made him think, and no one has ever interviewed him the way I interviewed him, because he's always standing in front of an audience of a few hundred people.
That's
and
right.
He's giving the story, and then he's taking questions and giving answers. But this was kind of a new format for him, where there's somebody sitting down with him for 10, 20 hours and going through the story piece by piece. So I can tell you in my memory, I don't think I ever caught him in a bad lie. He just made a few comments that really shocked me. So maybe the pauses came from me, but not from him.
Now, the first time, take me to the first time you guys sit down. This is our minute number one, right? You sit down. Are you prepared? Did you have notes?
No.
Good. That's a good answer, Michael.
I had no notes.
That's a good answer. But what about Al? I've never seen him glance down. I've never seen him reference anything. Did he have notes or anything like that with him?
So Al had no notes. I had no notes. I had listened to his presentation, so I had kind of an idea of what he was going to talk about. But I wanted this thing to flow. I took notes as he was talking, but I wanted it to flow as the conversation flowed, and I didn't really want to make anything up. So as he talked, I was sort of architecting the story, and I would write things down, and then I would try to figure out on the next interviews, where do we take it from there, based upon what he told me. Maybe I wanted to, talk more about his jump off the USS Eldridge. Okay, that might have been the subject. But I do recall, after a certain period of time and listening to him, I recall me telling him at the end of one of the interviews that, Al, nobody's going to believe any of this stuff. And I need some other people that I can interview that will somehow give a similar story or support your story. And that's when he gave me the names of all these other people that I interviewed, like Stuart and Larry and Preston, Nichols, and all the rest. They were all difficult people to interview. They were very wishy-washy. They had their little canned responses as well. But I did my very best to try to pull something out of them.
Did Al ever ask you for money? Was he ever motivated by money?
So not really. The deal was that we would create this program. I would sell it, and he would get a certain percentage of what I sold. And I did pay him. I paid him for quite a while for whatever I forget what the amounts was. It wasn't a ton of money.
But he wasn't driven. He wasn't driven by money. No, he was not. I was more concerned about money than he was for him. There were so many times he would come up to my office, and I had an office with 40, 50 people in it. He would drive, his car would break down. I might have to buy him something to fix his car, or, I would always feed him whenever he came. He never seemed to have any money, which, again, that always shocked me. And there was one time the History Channel came and they called me up, and I negotiated some sort of a payment for him to do a videotaping of his story. They did it. They brought in a camera crew from Atlanta, and they taped him. Whatever happened to the program, I don't know. But I do recall that the people they hired to actually shoot the video said to me that that was the most interesting video they have ever seen. Or that the interesting project they've ever worked on. There were like 4 of them, and they were all completely shocked. Yeah, I don't think that they were lying.
No,
not at all.
No.
Now
they do this every day.
Exactly. Now, I have been around stuff like this a lot, and sometimes I see people rehearsing what they're going to say when the camera's not rolling. Talking to themselves, or working on that canned answer. Did he ever do that, or was he just went for it?
Wow, he never rehearsed anything.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And see, never.
Yeah, he just went for it, and he didn't really care what you thought about his answer.
Obviously. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can see that. There
He
was
could care less.
Yeah.
He would just say stuff.
Now, I remember, and again, I need you to refresh my memory if I'm incorrect here, but didn't he say at one point that he didn't remember the Philadelphia experiment until he saw the movie? And then everything kind of came crushing back. It was hidden memories.
Right. Well, that's correct. That is correct. So that's what triggered the memories. So do you understand that Al Bielek is not the body of the person that went through the Philadelphia experiment?
That's right.
And he wasn't really forthcoming on that. I had to sort of piece that together because I thought it was him as with a different name, Ed Cameron.
That's right.
But no, it was through that Montauk chair that I told you about that they were able to take his soul and put it into another person.
Yeah. Why don't we let's back up and explain to everybody what happened. I'll help you out first. I'll do the quick setup. The Eldridge, the Philadelphia experiment, that we were trying to, in World War II, hide our Navy from German radar and German submarines so we can get across the Atlantic back and forth, and that was the intention. It wasn't to make our ships invisible, but invisible to radar, much like stealth technology today. One of the ideas was that they could degauss the ship, massive amounts of electricity, and take away the magnetism and the visibility of metal to radar. That was the idea. They threw high voltage equipment onto a few ships, but specifically the Eldridge, flipped the switch and tried to demagnetize the ship to make it invisible to radar. And when that happened, all hell broke loose. And a fog had enveloped the ship. There's many different stories to this, but and then the ship was gone, and it appeared in another port. And it's like 15 minutes, right? And then the ship was brought back. And when the smoke cleared, sailors were caught in the middle of the metal. They were stuck in walls. Some died. There was that. And then, but two brothers, Ed and Duncan Cameron, managed to jump off the ship before the ship disappeared. I think is how it went down. Anyway,
right. That's correct. Yeah.
They jump overboard, but jump into a vortex, a time hole of some kind, and disappear. Right. And those guys went to the 1980s. I think it doesn't matter.
It was 1984. They landed at Montauk.
They land at Montauk, and now, so that's the story, and so that's the lead up to it. So for the Ed and Duncan Cameron brother team, Al Bielek was actually Ed Cameron.
Ed Cameron. Yeah, he was Ed Cameron, and actually. From 1984, I forget what the date was, but they both went way into the future for a few years and came back. But the reason why it's Al Bielek now was because I'm trying to remember exactly how it worked. I know there was an aging problem that Ed Cameron was getting old quick. And this could have been another version of Ed Cameron. That's the problem with time travel is you don't know what version of the person you're talking to, and sometimes they overlap. But there was an aging problem, and so they had to sort of put him in the chair, take his soul out, and put his soul into young Al Bielek. And Al Bielek's first memory is as a child. He remembers, I think, his mother playing the piano. And he was fairly well developed at a very young age. He has pretty vivid memories of understanding what happened then. So that's how it all happened. Hard to believe, but that's the story.
Wasn't he? Did he ever show any apprehension to somebody unraveling this? He never. It never came across that way to me. He just didn't care. So
he didn't care.
Yeah,
No.
like he had nothing to hide.
To lose.
Right.
Well, he had nothing to hide and nothing to lose as well. You know, what are you going to take away from a guy who has nothing? And it didn't seem to me that his motivation was to make any money. So even though I was the one that tried to help him make more money, I did everything I could to help him. But he just never really seemed interested. Bizarre, really bizarre. So I felt that he, in his own mind, was telling the truth. Now, whether that was the truth or not is a different story. But I believe that he said the truth as he understood it to be.
We're going to be up against a break here in 3 minutes. When you were doing these interviews, the internet was all abuzz back then about John Teeter, the time traveler. Did Al ever mention anything to John Teeter to you, on or off camera?
You remember that? Wow. Al never said a word about John Teeter, and I think that was a Art Bell thing.
Yes, it was.
Probably was not real. But, you know, there's other people that claim that they were part of time travel programs. And, you know, just because Al doesn't know them doesn't mean it didn't happen. So the only people that we knew about was Al, Duncan, Preston. He said Preston was quite involved in it. And then this guy, Larry James. Those are the only ones that I knew about.
We're going to be up against a break, and we'll take that in just a second. Out of everything that he had described, the one area that he was pretty not only descriptive but pretty strong about was his time in the future in the hospital room. What he saw, he saw the new map of the United States. He described the city. He gave a pretty fantastic and what seems to me an accurate view of the future. I'm referring to flat screen TVs and whatnot. I thought that was pretty amazing. And what did you think about that part of his story?
Well, he was telling the story from 1984, so he could have, and the time I did the interview, I think was 2000, something like that.
Right.
So yeah, he didn't talk about, to my memory, a flat screen TV. I remember him talking about color television and seeing commercials, if I recall, about 747.
I was referring to when he went to 2300 when he went way into the future. He woke up in a hospital room, and he described the hospital room and the flat screen TVs and how the programming was.
You did listen to my interview.
I listened to him. Michael, you have no idea. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back more with Michael Houtzager right after this. The Life and Times of Al Bielek, time traveler. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Michael right after this short break. You stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Ray Sobbs here once again to tell you about the Space and Alien Snowfest Ufology Conference taking place in the ski resort city of Big Bear Lake in sunny Southern California. What a lineup. Richard Dolan, Chase Kletsky, Micah Hanks, George Norrie, Jason Martell, Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, keynote speaker Stanton Friedman, and more. Along with the speakers and lecturers, join the luncheon hosted by Jimmy Church. See a world-class UFO ET-themed ice sculpture contest with attendees voting the winner. Enjoy the quaint shops, restaurants, and pubs in Big Bear Lake Village, and enjoy some of the best sky watching you can imagine. After the hectic holidays, gift yourself with a retreat the first week of February and come relax with us in a premier ski resort town high in the mountains of the southern Sierras with an average of over 300 sunny days a year. Take advantage and book your lodging early and get your tickets now. Visit our website and register at aliensnowfest.com. That's aliensnowfest.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Michael Houtzager is with us. We're talking about Al Bielek, time traveler. Tomorrow night, Mark Sargent is going to be here, The Flat Earth. Wednesday, Ben Moss and Tony Angiola from Hangar 1 and their new evidence in the Socorro UFO incident. But tonight, our guest is Michael Houtzager. Thursday night's Christmas Eve, folks. We're doing a best of replay. It's probably going to be this show if I have my choice. Michael, when it came to Montauk with Al, he was created there, number one. But number two, he became a worker. You know, he was part of the program. And it seemed to me that he didn't have any, well, he felt bad, but he didn't have any regrets. And his answer was always, you know, it was my job. It was my gig. It was all of our jobs. It was all of our, and we just did as we were told. And he said it in a matter of fact, kind of a chilling sort of way. Did it hit you the same?
It hit me the same. And that's when I began to question everything. What they did, if it's true, again, let's not say we know for a fact it's true, but the idea of going out to New York City to abduct young boys and bring them into a program where many of them died is simply not a comforting sort of an idea for me. You know, I've got two young boys of my own. He never seemed to regret it, though, that he did it. It was all matter of fact. This is what we did. This is how we did it. I was part of that program. He never seemed to have any regret.
In interviewing Stewart and also Chris Garitano, the director of the Montauk Project, of the Montauk Chronicles, that movie that was just released earlier this year, and others, they, when the question is always, well, where did you find, how did you get, oh, well, the easiest thing to do is to go out and find some runaway kid, that nobody's going to miss, that is out there on the streets, and you go and you pick them up. And the other aspect to that is once you do that, then you start the mind control aspect of it. And they are nothing more than, rabbits in a laboratory at that point. And you start the mind control on them. And I have interviewed many. And when you hear it in that, in that format, then you kind of understand the feasibility of everything, where it does make sense. And how many victims? It doesn't matter. Nobody knows. Runaway kids are runaway kids, and they're not tracked and they're not followed, and a lot of their families aren't followed, especially back then. Today it may be a little bit different, but that's how this thing kept moving along.
Yeah, there didn't seem to be a problem with finding people when they were doing the program.
With
he never said.
Do you think when you have Stewart's description of this, and this is where for me it gets a little bit dark, but when you have a handler and you are being manipulated in some type of MK Ultra mind control program, which we know did and probably still does exist, and I want to talk about that in just a second. These programs are real, and that manipulation is there. And eventually you're going to lose control and lose sight of who you are really as a person too. Is that a possibility for Al too as well, that he just may have been a victim of a mind control program from the word go?
Well, anything's a possibility, right? I feel anything could have happened with Al Bielek. I just don't know. I was going to say something about mind control. I remember he did a test on me because he feels a lot of people are mind controlled. And after the test, he said, I was not mind controlled.
Oh, wait. Stop right there.
Yeah.
Okay. What did he do?
So he had these pictures, and you're supposed to stare at the pictures and let objects come out and identify what the objects are. Have you ever seen those where it's a random number of different objects in the picture, and then if you sort of lose your focus, then you can see the object come out.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've seen these.
Yes.
But I was able to do it quite easily and pick out all the things, and he said, you're not mind controlled. And he says he's given this test to many other people, and they are mind controlled. He feels that I didn't go through any of this because I grew up in Germany when I was a young kid on army bases, and he feels that's the reason why I was left alone.
So did I. So maybe that's why I've been left alone. See, audience, everybody out there that thinks I'm some MK Ultra super soldier, disinfo CIA agent, I'm in the clear.
Me too. As far as I know.
Woo! Man, I can feel. Yeah. I feel better already. Now,
what was it? Just your question. I'm sorry, I may have missed it.
It's just with. I mean, could it be? See, this is the thing with Al. It's to the only way to recall names, members of Congress, cabinets, generals, sergeants, scientists, times, dates, places, ranks, occupations, all the way down the line. It would be years and years and years and years of intense study into all kinds of different areas. And where does one do that? And how do you pull that off? And where does this recall come from? So either it really happened to him, and these are life events for him, or they could have been implanted too as well. And he doesn't, he would perceive that both cases are equally as scary. There's no doubt about that. But his references to these mind control programs, did he ever make a comment to you on or off camera that he could possibly just be a victim of MK Ultra or some crazy CIA experiment?
Well, you're naming MK Ultra CIA. I can. You're bringing back a memory now. I remember many times we do interviews and he was tired. He would come in tired, and what he said was that while he's sleeping, they will basically do something that takes him or his soul or his person into another time zone, completes a task, and then he goes back. So imagine on a clock, 10 seconds has passed. But for him, it could have been 10 days. So in 10 seconds, he did 10 days worth of work. And he would every now and then say this happened to him. So I don't know what program that would be, but he did tell me that's the reason why he was tired.
And this was happening during your interview sessions?
Yes. Yeah. I just remembered it now.
Did he ever, okay, let me help you. This is my MK Ultra right here. That's what I'm doing. Did he ever mention what any of the missions were?
He may have. I apologize. I just don't remember it. I remember, I think when people tell you stuff like that, you discount it as false immediately. So I probably didn't pay close enough attention to it.
So what you're saying, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this a little bit here. You're getting together. You're going to sit down for an interview session. He looks a little disheveled, a little tired, and you say to Al, "Hey, Al, you look a little tired today." "Well, yeah, I had to go out and save President Lincoln last night. They used me for another trip." Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Really?
I don't recall what he did, but I recall him saying every now and then they will go in, get him for, say, 10 days. So he had, but it was only 10 seconds had passed. But when he come back, he was completely exhausted. So I remember that happened a couple of times.
You know, you've just blown my mind. And what do you do? I mean, see.
I didn't believe it.
Yeah, what do you do?
I didn't believe it.
I mean, it's Al Bielek.
How do you answer that? Yeah.
Right, it's Al Bielek. So you've got to think that there might be something to it. That's the crazy part. And for you, that's why I was asking earlier, Michael, and I'm not making light of this. I want you to go with me a little bit. At some point, you have to say to yourself when you're driving in your car, looking in your rear view mirror for the Men in Black, right? And you're doing that, you're either the world that you know it isn't real, right? That's it. Everything is a lie. Everything that you know, everything that you trust and honor just quite simply isn't real. And the world that we know it and the government that we know and everything that we know is completely false. There's no gray area here. And how did you feel? I know that you had those thoughts. You had to.
Well, you described what I was feeling better than I could have described it. And so how do you deal with that? You put them to the test. You have to come up with a test that will either prove or disprove him. And I came up with a test. Share that with you.
Yeah, talk to me.
Okay. All right. So while I was doing the interviews, there was a presidential election going on. It was between George Bush and the other guy.
Clinton.
You remember that?
Well, yeah, Clinton?
No, not Clinton. Al Gore.
Oh, Al Gore, right.
Yeah, so it was way back then. So this was 1999, 2000, something. No,
That's
2000.
Right.
So it's Bush versus Gore. Very close election. So, and I was interviewing. This is on the CD somewhere.
Yeah, this was the Hanging Chad's election, right?
Hanging Chad's election.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it was determined in Florida, and we'll go through the story. But So I'm thinking, this has got to be a bunch of BS that Al's saying. We can prove it. So I sat down there. The microphone was on. This was before the elections, and I looked at him and I said, Al, who's our next president? You've time traveled. You've been in the future. Who's our next president? Without thinking about it, without hesitating, without anything, he looked at me and I said, who's going to win the presidential election? That's what I said. And he looked at me and he said, no one.
Say what?
And that's what he said. He said, no one's going to win. And he says, but they're going to give it to George Bush.
Shut up. Says, Michael, slow down.
It's on the CD, I swear to God. He said they're going to give it to George Bush, and he went through a long spiel about how it was going. I think he said not the Supreme Court, because it was the Supreme Court that did it, but he said Congress was going to do it, and that he will be your next president. And that is what he said. And I'd say he got about 98% of it right.
Yeah,
and what's the chances at that time, at that point in time, this was maybe a month or two before the election, that he would get it right like that. I mean, he knew for sure it was going to be George Bush. He knew for sure nobody was going to win. He knew for sure it was going to go into government somehow, and they would decide. And he said they're going to give it to George Bush. Now, I thought at that time that this entire project was a complete waste of my time, because there is no way that that's going to happen. But I felt to be a pseudo-journalist, and I think, you got to tell your own truth. So what I did was, in the office that I was in, there was maybe 40 people there, and they were all wondering what the heck I'm doing with this Al Bielek guy. I went out and told every one of them what Al Bielek told me. And they all laughed at me. And they all said, this is not going to happen. Well, I will tell you, after that election, there was panic throughout that office, because they knew I was talking to someone who said he was a time traveler, had visited aliens, and they all thought I was crazy. But I had also shared with them what he said about how the presidential election was going to go down. And they literally panicked, because they didn't know how to deal with that. Because he just said something which nobody would have believed to be a truth at the time, and he nailed it. And then, therefore, that means there's a reasonable chance that the rest of the stuff he's saying is true.
Wow. Where were your offices? Were you in Florida, too?
No, I'm not. I did all this near Atlanta. It's in
you were in Atlanta. This is before he moved to Florida?
Right.
Okay. Because that would just throw another whole spin into the whole story too, as well. Now, when wow. So now, when the election happens and Florida happens, did you have a holy crap sort of moment?
Yeah, it was beyond a holy crap. It was me and all my friends, everybody. We were totally convinced that this was going to be the thing that we could use to say Al Bielek is a liar. Because trust me, I honestly don't want any of this stuff to be true. Despite what people say about me, it's disturbing. So I felt I had him, but he had us on this, and then we had to really rethink and take a second look at everything that's on here.
I'm going to open up the phone lines, too, by the way, everybody. I'm just going to let you know now, 323-825-5045, 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. I've hit the switches. They're on. I want to sort of change gears, but not. You also put together some stuff on Phil Schneider, and he is somebody that has fascinated me from the word go. And it's not, his story is his story, but it was his death to me that freaks me out the most about Phil Schneider, because I feel like he was murdered. And the way that he died or was murdered, then you have to go back and look at his body of evidence and his presentation and his speeches. And you've certainly reviewed all of it just like I have. And what's the relationship with Al Bielek? Well, it's actually very similar in that we have two stories here that are hard to swallow. And Phil Schneider, and certainly towards the end of his day, he went from underground bases to international politics and black projects, and he went way out there, and then he was just offed. And I think it was totally tragic. What do you think about Phil Schneider's story, once you tie in the way that, his time ended on Earth?
Well, we're covering a lot of ground tonight, aren't we? So people are going to have to do some research on Phil Schneider. Probably not everybody knows who he was. I do know. I talked to Al quite a bit about Phil Schneider. The two of them used to go to conferences together and were roommates.
That's right.
I remember that.
Yep.
And they would both give presentations, but they always shared a room and became very close friends until he died. So apparently the way he died, if memory serves me, it was a piano wire around his neck, and it's sort of like suicide with two bullets in your head. I mean, the way it happened, you couldn't do it yourself.
Yeah, I think it was actually I think it was surgical tubing, which even makes makes it even crazier.
So he was killed without a question. But we'll never know who did it or why or what happened. But he had quite a story, and he was on the circuit telling his story until he was murdered. So, but you would think that Al Bielek would be a little bit nervous, but he wasn't. But it was a shame. So Phil Schneider, though, he lost all his fingers.
That's right.
Fingers on one of them.
That's right. And I'm not.
I remember all this stuff.
Well, the reason why I laugh, Phil, it's one of the tragic stories ever. But the reason why I laugh about that comment that you just made is they tried to say, here's a guy that is got a wheelchair. He's messed up physically beyond what, and he's got no fingers. And they're trying to say that he wrapped and tied, and hung himself. And he's got no. It's ludicrous. And the autopsy.
He couldn't have done it.
No, it's impossible. And the autopsy didn't even come out till 2 weeks later. And they're trying to say it was a suicide when at that point in his life, his family life was straightened out. He was happy. He was optimistic. He was on the circuit. He was doing his thing, and he had everything to live for. And then he just kills himself.
And he gave some great presentations too.
Oh, amazing presentations. And you've got those too as well, right?
Yeah. Al gave them to me to put on there on the CD. That's where they came from.
Did you? Well, go ahead.
No, I mean that was part of Al's collection. He was able. I think when Phil died, somehow they had worked something out where he had the rights to some of his videos. So he asked me to put those on the CD. So I digitized them and put them on the CD for people to watch.
Phil Schneider, what most people don't know, when Phil is up speaking and you see him, you don't know about the physical side of him and what is really standing up there. You see his face and you see the microphone, but you don't necessarily see his hands or see his body or see underneath his clothes or see that side of Phil. And that's critical here.
Well, do you know how that happened?
Well, I know parts of it. I mean, I know what he said about the Dulce base and
Dulce,
right, and he got hit by some type of pulse weapon, right?
Yep. Yeah. And it killed people beside him, but it almost killed him, but left him without fingers and some really bad scars on the rest of his body.
Yeah, Phil Schneider. chance, and I would have loved to have talked to him. And I talk about him on the show all the time, and I think it's so important. What people don't understand about Phil is they may go see some of his presentations and see that side of it and not understand honestly how he was killed. And that to me, if you go and read the newspaper, go and read the autopsy report and read everything that the police had to say about it and the scene of the crime and everything, and you go and you find out, and you just have to step back and go, this dude was killed. He was killed. Who would kill him? Why? And like I just referenced, Michael, it's so important that, there's the Dulce underground base incident. Yes, and he spoke about underground bases a lot. But he got into other subject matter that was really, really dicey. Black projects, international politics, the military and imperialism and the things that we were doing around the world and overthrowing government. That's what he was starting to speak about a lot. And that's when he was killed. He wasn't killed after the Dulce base, story. It was much later on, and when he was getting into some really, really dicey areas that made me uncomfortable. I would sit there and listen. I'm like, Phil, why are you going here? You're going into a zone that most people just don't go into, and you have a lot of knowledge, and this seems real and tangible. And when you go back and you look at Phil today, and you go back and look at those last few speeches that he gave before he was killed, and you listen to those, man, I'm telling you, dude was on the money. He was absolutely right. And so he was off. He was definitely, Phil Schneider was silenced. So there's no question about it. But it's interesting how you said that Al, even after this close relationship that he had with Phil, wasn't concerned about his own life?
Al never was concerned about his own life, ever. I was concerned. I didn't want to be myself, Phil Schneider Part 2.
Right.
But Al, no, he never was concerned at all. He felt he was just used.
Were your phones ever messed with? Did you ever have people outside of your hotels or your house or anything like that?
They may have been there. I never found out. I didn't hear any clicking, or I never saw anybody. I think the fear was more internal and just me thinking I shouldn't be hearing this stuff.
Do you know what happened? Did Al have any of Phil's personal stuff? Did he get that besides tapes? Artifacts, paperwork, anything like that? What happened to all of that? I don't know. I think he went to Phil's house after Phil was murdered. I think. I can't remember. But if he ever got anything, he never told me about it. Do you know what happened to Al's personal belongings?
Wow. Did Al have anything is a question.
Yeah, right.
I don't.
Right.
He somehow, after I was done with him, he goes down to Florida. How he got to Florida is beyond me. I don't know. But from Florida, he wound up in Mexico for a little while. I believe he died in Mexico.
Mm.
So he never had much of anything at all.
Let's take a quick break. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, Michael Houtzager is with us, the life and times of time traveler Al Bielek. We'll be back right after this short break. More with Michael in just a bit. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Why do people order Life Change Tea? Because Life Change Tea helps the digestive system. Life Change Tea helps the colon unclog. The tea also helps with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and many, many other health issues. Life Change Tea also tastes great. And Life Change Tea is not just green tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs that go to town, cleaning your body of harmful toxins, bacteria, and parasites. Our tea is number 1. Are you ready for your life change? Let the tea help you. Log on to our online store of helpful products to get your body on track. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Not all tea is equal. Read our website of all the factual testimonies that prove that Life Change Tea is working. Health is important, and our quality of life is very important. Don't wait to order. Expect a life change with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood. Not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Wow, I just cleared my throat without using the cough button. I'm not a professional. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Michael Houtzager. We're talking about the life and times of Al Bielek. Threw in a little Phil Schneider there at the end, but they are connected, and it's a strange story, one that scares me all the time. Tomorrow night, Mark Sargent is with us. We're going to talk about the flat Earth, this thing that is, it's kind of funny. It's picked up steam over the last year. And then on Wednesday, Ben Moss and Tony Angiola will be with us for our, nearly our year-end show. It's getting really close here. And then, of course, Christmas Eve is on Thursday. We're taking the day off. And I don't even know how, after everything that Rita's got planned, how possibly I could do a show on Monday, but I do want everybody to have a great time. Hang out with your friends and family over the weekend. We will miss you too. And so let's go to the phones. Hi, Dino. Say hi to Michael.
Good evening, Jimmy. Michael, 2 questions. I'm kind of not as versed in time travel, but and I love me some Phil Schneider. I mean, he was a brave man. I have to say that first off. But what did Al? What did he do? I mean, back in the day, what did he do? What was the purpose of the program he was in, you believe? And number 2, is a program of time travel if we know what it's for, is it still in effect, still being used today by this group, whoever they are? And who are they, you believe, that are running it?
Well, I wish I knew the answers to both those questions. But let's talk about Al Bielek. What did he do in the program? So his job was part of the mind control aspect. He worked with Preston, and Preston somehow worked with sound, and through sound they were able to come up with ways to turn that into waves, and these waves would control people. The goal was to do mind control to the mass population, and that was a program that he worked in. Somehow related to mind control was time travel, and not only time travel, but travel to distances. I remember Al talking to me about visiting Mars and going in tunnels with his brother, and there were past civilizations there. He apparently went on several time travel or distance travel programs, and that's what he said he did a lot of. Who are the people behind this? I don't know. You know, they're not your government. There are other people behind the government. Is it still going on? I personally don't know if it ever went on. I wasn't there. All I can tell you is what he told me. So, if you go to Montauk today, there's not much, but it could have been moved somewhere else.
Well, I know about Montauk, but can you add any other evidence for this Philadelphia experiment? I mean, is there anybody that actually saw the ship appear in another port? And was there anybody who actually witnessed sailors being melded with the metal of the ship? I mean, I know the story, but has there ever been any proof of this?
No. You know, I looked for people. When I talked to Al, said nobody's going to believe this, I try to get people who would say, yeah, I've been there, yeah, I saw it. I couldn't find them at all. In fact, you know, there was somebody put up a website called Philadelphia Experiment Debunked, I think it was called, where they sort of took Al's statements and proved him wrong in many things, or he was not, you know, he'd say one thing one time and another thing another time, or it couldn't have been proven. So there were other people, I don't remember their names, that talked about the Philadelphia experiment, but it was in a different context. So I personally never found anyone that said that they had been in it.
Well, thank you for the truth, and it's still a mystery, I guess.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dino. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Good.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Okay, Lori Brooks.
Hi, Lori. How are you? Say hi to Michael.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm good, Lori. How are you?
All righty, I'm good. I just had a question. I was wondering what you thought about the process of what is going on in America today with the government and the higher ups, like as far as the elite. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, I really don't. I try to only comment on things that I know about. So, I'm not to be the advocate of things. I'm just to be the reporter of things. And my job was to, let Al Bielek tell his story. So, if what he's saying is true, then there are higher-ups, there are elites, there's a mind control program, and all these things are happening, which definitely bothers me, but I can't prove it. So I have to leave it with that. I think you have other guests on the program that can say they were part of the program.
Right.
But I myself was not. And I just have to tell the truth. So
hi, you're
if
live.
It's happening, I don't like it.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Michael. Who's calling? You're live right now. 3, 2, 1. They'll just have to call back. What about Preston Nichols? You know, was he an easy of an interview as Al?
Yeah, Preston Nichols, all of them were difficult interviews because I don't like to interview people and let them just say a canned speech. So I like to interject and let me take it on the course I want it to go. And so Preston himself had his agenda, I felt, when I talked to him. And when I veered him off, I got these bizarre answers. So he was a tough nut to interview. But a lot of people do interview him. You probably should one day if you can find him. But he was a key part of what went on out there, according to Al. And in fact, I'm going to share this with you. I haven't shared this with anybody, but I remember I did keep in touch with Al Bielek. And when 9/11 happened, he did tell me, Al Bielek told me that he had talked to Preston Nichols, and Preston Nichols had been to where the Twin Tower wreckage was to retrieve a time travel device.
Really?
And that's what he told me. Yeah.
Now, after 9/11 happened, like in the future, or was it?
No.
At the scene.
I was still in touch with Al. So he and I, after we were done with the project, we kept touch for some time. It wasn't until, I don't know. So 9/11 happened in September. I think he and we broke our relationship in February, March, April, something like that.
Of 2002.
So we were still in touch, and I do recall him talking to Preston quite a bit, and I do recall him telling me that Preston told him he was in New York to pick up a time travel device. And that's all I can say.
There was with Preston. Okay, as dark as it gets with Stewart, in his own personal experiences there, and when you talk to him, I mean it's frightening. It's a frightening, nightmarish type of thing that they went through, and Al's descriptions are very close to Stewart's and things. Preston goes into a whole nother darkness side of it, and this is a family show too as well, so we don't need to go, but you know what I'm talking about. And he goes there, and it's dark, and even if it wasn't real, Michael, and I want your answer to this. If it's not real, then that means somebody's mind is going to a really, really bad place that mine never goes to. I'm more into Charlie Brown and Saturday morning cereal. My life is more like that. I'm not, but Preston, he goes into a very dark area. Did you have to prod him into that? Did you coax him into that area? Or did he go there on his own? And how comfortable were you with it? Did you ever have to circumnavigate back off the darkness?
My focus with Preston was to understand the engineering behind it. So while he may have gone into some dark areas, I wasn't interested in that.
Good.
I was more interested in the scientific stuff. And what he talked to me about was music and how music could be used for mind control, and how he was able to create electronics that converted whatever mind control message that they wanted through music and through other means, through the chair, into a mind control device. That was my focus with him. Unfortunately, there were dark aspects of it, but I wasn't interested in that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. And there's one, people need to understand about Preston. He's an inventor. He's a creator. He does lots of things in the music industry, and he's always forward thinking there. and that part of him is really, really interesting.
Right.
So I don't want to cloud his background or his personality. That's not what I'm referring to here. I'm just saying that there are dark sides to Montauk, where Preston will freely talk about, and ones that I personally am not comfortable. I even put up my wall and go, you know what? I don't need to go there. I don't really want to know about that aspect of it. And I hear him talking about it all the time, very freely. And it's like, where does this come from? And if it's real, that's harsh. That is almost Nazi. I could see it, man. I could see the scary scientist with the whacked out glasses in the operating room doing crazy stuff to people. And that's what I'm referring to with Preston. Now, what about Larry James? How much time did you spend with Larry?
So I didn't spend a lot of time with Larry. And of course, that's not his real name. He asked me not to use his real name. He was kind of a younger guy. And he said that his involvement in the whole thing, he knew Al at the Montauk project. There was a time where they destroyed it. I think Duncan created a monster.
Yep.
And the monster destroyed the base, and then people came in and killed everybody and shot them up. There were a few people that were able to, that were part of the program, get into the chair, take their soul, and transfer it into somebody else. So he was one of those somebody else's. And I know he was down in Orlando, Florida, and he knew Al well. Al and him bonded. They were good friends. And he was, in my mind, he was a bit paranoid. I remember a year or two after I had created the CD, he told me that a friend of his said that I put some spyware on the CD so that anybody who ran it, it was going to send a signal to the NSA that they're listening to stuff like this. And he even came to my apartment and talked to me about it. He would never talk to me on the phone. And I said, show me where it is. I will remove all the CDs and never sell another one. And he never could. So I just, he was kind of smart, but not that smart.
He sounds like in the interviews, he sounds like a kid. Well, especially next to Al, which you could tell he's an aged, developed, mature, older man. You can tell. And when he would speak, he was rapid fire young, and you could hear it in his voice. Is that how old he was?
Yeah, he was in his 20s. He was young. And I didn't give him, I do believe he believed it, but I didn't give him a lot of credibility nor a lot of time.
Why is that?
I just didn't feel that, the material that he presented was that cohesive. Unlike Al. And again, he was a very small part of the whole program, but he says he knew Al. He just worked at the program. They found a way out, and he got back to Al. They remember each other. So he was a small part of the whole program. So there wasn't a lot that I could really interview him on.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, because it felt to me, look, and I'm glad we're not using his real name, because I can say whatever I want, right? Not get sued. But when it came to Larry's part in this, although some of his stuff was detailed and it was colorful, it seemed like he was playing off of Al's story and would expand on it or agree to it and offer his own little take. But it was, it wasn't Al's story. It was nothing compared to the way that Al did it. And he was almost like a reasonable facsimile of Al's story. Am I accurate?
Could be, to a degree. Again, if he never got a penny for anything that he did with me. So, I could see him coming up with a crazy story if I offered him $10,000 or something like that. But he never received a penny. And I truly believe he spoke his own truth, and I do believe probably Al's story influenced him, and he was the one that came up with the Swiss cheese memory thing.
Right.
I think he was struggling to figure out who he was, and he felt that through Al Bielek he found an identity. So out of everybody that's out there that could be, making it up, I'd say the highest probability was him.
Now, where is he today?
No clue. I mean, when I left this thing, I left it. So I just don't know.
Okay. And then the last player in the mix, well, at least for you, was Duncan Cameron. And
right.
and how did you meet Duncan? And well, let's kind of start there, because when you were introduced to Duncan, how far along were you into the story, and when did he come into the picture?
So Duncan Cameron was the brother of Ed Cameron, and Ed Cameron is Al Bielek today, right?
Right.
And it was the two of them that jumped off the ship together. He came in toward the very end of the story. This was when I, told Al I need some more people telling me the story, just like the caller came in, said, who else do you know that's witnessed the Philadelphia experiment? I was the same way. If it's just you telling me the story, who's going to believe you? So he has been in touch with Duncan for quite some time. They've done some seminars together, and he had the phone number for Duncan. It was a lot of work for me to actually get Duncan to agree to an interview. He was in Long Island, New York. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, so I wasn't going to fly all the way up there. But Al talked to him, and then I did record Duncan on the phone. I got to say that the interview I did with him was very unsatisfying. I don't feel he really directly answered any of my questions. I really tried to get him nailed down to say, were you part of the Philadelphia experiment? Did you know Al Bielek as, Ed Cameron? That's what I really wanted to know. And as I would ask those questions, he sort of danced around the answers. So he kind of agreed that he was, but he didn't really firmly agree it.
Was his attention to detail like Al's or Stewart's?
No, flaky. I hope he's not listening, but just real flaky in answers that he would give me. Like you say, what's 1 and 1? And, he would talk about the moon and the stars and the sun and maybe finally get to 2, but it took a long time to get there.
Right. And how long did you spend with Duncan? A couple hours?
Yeah, it was just one interview that I did with him. I think it was probably about an hour. It's on the CD.
Right. And, well, I think on the CD it's about an hour. I didn't know if there was outtakes is where I'm going. Was it longer than that?
No. That's all he would give me. That was it. One call, that was it.
And first impressions and credibility are everything. Were you interested in maybe talking to Duncan again, or were you done?
I was done with Duncan. I think with Duncan, I would have had to have been face-to-face with him like I was with Al.
Right.
When you're face-to-face, you can really look at their mannerisms and pick up on different things you can't pick up on over the phone. So I felt on the phone I did all I could do. In order to go deeper, I had to be face-to-face.
Well,
at that time, I didn't have the means to do so.
You have no idea who you're talking to.
And that too, right.
That's it. Could have been an actor. Could have been anybody. Could have been whatever. But there's that aspect of it, and trying to stand behind it. If you can't vet and you can't take things to the next level, and even if it's a phone interview on Skype where you've got a video picture, and you can at least do that, right? But if it's just a phone interview and it's feeling sketchy, well, then you know what? Yeah. It's probably sketchy.
Right. And go back. My goal was not to prove or disprove aliens, time travel, Montauk Project, Eldridge, any of that.
Right.
I just simply wanted to tell a story. And so at least there's that interview with Duncan. And if somebody else wants to listen to it and pick it up and go forward with Duncan, I'm sure he's probably still alive. Use that as a basis for your conversation with him.
Right. And how about and how about you? You've gone, you're out of the industry. You don't do this anymore. But have you had any strange experience? Have you ever seen anything strange in the sky that you can't explain? Have you had any kind of experiences like that allow you to think, well, there might be something to this?
Well, I get that question a lot. And, I myself, to my knowledge, have not met an alien. To my knowledge, I've not seen a UFO, although I would desperately love to see one. And I'd love to meet an alien. I think it'd be extremely fascinating. As you can tell, I like to ask people questions.
Right.
But I just haven't. But I have met so many people who say they have. So I feel sort of gypped that, I haven't had that experience. I would love to have that experience where you look up in the sky and there is a spacecraft traveling.
Right.
The only thing I have seen was a meteorite. This was about a week ago.
Oh, really?
And you don't see that too often. And I was walking with my wife around the neighborhood. I do that to stay in shape. And I looked up, and there it was, bright as day, and she missed it. But it was on the news. I mean, something that happened 2 seconds.
Right.
I saw it, and then it was actually on the news the next day. So I'm just surprised with all these people saying all these things about spacecrafts, why don't we get more news reports?
Yeah, well,
I'd like to see that.
Look, and we're wrapping up here, but I'll share this with you. Even the audience is going to go, Jimmy, not again. Please don't tell the story again. But I will say this, Michael, where you can rest comforted in this. My wife and I had a sighting right here in the valley, San Fernando Valley, where, a million people are in the middle of it was right there. Came down, looked like it crashed in downtown Van Nuys. It was right. We saw it, and it wasn't on the news. And I still, to this day, I cannot believe that KTLA and KTTV and Fox and ABC, NBC, and everybody else wasn't flooded with phone calls. The LA Times, the LAPD, the LA County Sheriffs weren't flooded with calls, and that this wasn't in the news, and somebody didn't snap a picture of it. Now, it lasted for a couple of seconds, but no reports. And we saw what we saw. So it's okay. I don't, that's my own experience, but when this stuff doesn't hit the news, it flashes for a split second. And who's really going to report it? Who's going to step forward and do it? It just doesn't happen. And it didn't happen with me. And there you go. I called MUFON. MUFON didn't have any reports that night. And I was just like, wow, that's just insane. And I checked the news for a week every single day. This was 2000. My wife will have to help me here, but I'm going to say 2007, 2008, right in there. It never hit the news. And, this is one of the biggest populated areas on planet Earth, and nobody reported a thing. Yeah, it happens. It does happen. So
are we almost out of time?
Yeah, we are. What would you like to say?
Just one last thing, because this is going to go sort of down on the record. One of the things that actually made Al and I somewhat split was I was talking to him, and somehow the Holocaust came up. And I was talking to him, and he looked at me, and he said the Holocaust never happened. And I remember talking to him, saying, Al, I said, I said, you shouldn't say stuff like that.
Right.
Even if you don't believe it's true, you just shouldn't.
You know what? We're up against a hard break. I want to hear this.
Oh.
Okay, we're up against a hard break. We'll be right back. More with Michael Houtzager. We're going to do a little bit of overtime with Michael. We can't leave on that note. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And we're going to wrap up with Al Bielek and the Holocaust. Here we go. Right after this short break. Stay with us.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hi, folks. Ray Hobbs here with KGRA to tell you about something very special taking place in February 2016. I'm talking about the Space and Alien Snowfest Ufology Conference taking place at the beautiful ski and snowboard resort city of Big Bear Lake in sunny Southern California. We've got Richard Dolan, Chase Kletzky, Micah Hanks, Jason Martell, Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, Mike Barra, and keynote speaker Stanton Friedman will be presented a Lifetime Achievement Award. George Norrie and his producer Tom Danheiser from Coast to Coast AM Live will be with us all weekend. After the hectic holidays, gift yourself a retreat on top of the world the first weekend in February 2016 with a one-of-a-kind ufology event featuring some of the top minds in the field. Take advantage and book your lodging early and get your tickets now and register at aliensnowfest.com. I'll be there. Don't miss out.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for that perfect gift for the holidays? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. Just in time for Christmas. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best Christmas deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Tuppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Michael Houtzager. Interviewed 24 hours of Al Bielek, one of the very few people to have that opportunity, and we've talked about all of that tonight. And then Michael, at the end, as we were wrapping up, started to drop a bombshell. So I gotta keep you on. But Michael, let me say this before I hear what you're about to say. Whenever anybody hits me with that, I immediately tune out. I don't want to hear it. It does. I don't go there. And coming from Al Bielek, I've got to stop and listen. So, okay. So you said that Al said to you that the Holocaust never happened. What happened?
Well, it made me mad when he said that. I grew up in Germany, in Stuttgart, and there was, I believe the name of the concentration camp was Birkenau.
Right.
I remember going to it, and, you see pictures and the horrors and stuff like that. It definitely has an impact on you when you go to a real concentration camp, and I was able to do that. But he looked at me like he always does, just like with that whole presidential election thing. and rattled my cage again. And he says, he looked at me and he says it didn't matter. And I didn't want to go deeper into it, to be honest with you. I wanted to just drop it because I was mad at him for saying that. And I was saying, and here I am, I've put all this effort into this CD.
Bingo.
And then here's a guy saying the Holocaust never happened. So this is the part that troubles me, though, is I do search out for information, and there are groups of people who have very interesting stories about how the Holocaust possibly was misframed. The 6 million, certainly there was an effort to kill Jews, no question about that. They worked in these camps. As far as the gas chambers and the idea of 6 million, that could be debated. But what does bother me about the whole Holocaust thing is that in 17 countries, if you question it, you can go to jail.
That's right.
And that doesn't make it, why is that so? So, it's one of these things where I hope he's wrong, but I just want to put that on the table because I think the point of tonight is to put everything on the table, the good, the bad, the ugly, and let you guys decide what to do with it. Because I don't want to lie about it.
Sure.
But that's what he said.
Yeah. Was there any type of was there a racist side of Al there that started to surface? Do you think that was part of it?
I don't, because the Larry James guy was Jewish.
Right. Interesting.
So
did Larry say the same thing?
No, I didn't ask him. But there was a racist. I remember Larry telling me the reason why he picked a Jew was because the people at Montauk didn't like him and wouldn't look for him, wouldn't relate to him. So when he escaped Montauk in the chair and he picked the body, he picked a Jew intentionally. So I never saw a racist side to Al. I just saw a very matter-of-fact side.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that part. He, the thing is when, and you were talking about your aspiring possible career as a journalist, right? As an interviewer. You don't have anybody better to interview than Al Bielek because you're just going to sit down and go, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I started out with the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what he would do, man. He'd put his eyes straight into the camera and wouldn't stop for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And
right.
That's an incredible part of him. When you say matter of fact, it didn't get any more matter of factor than Al Bielek. And for him to come out with that about the Holocaust, it almost, unless he has some kind of, he's indicating that he knows something. But it to me, it didn't fit his persona. That's why I was asking about the racist side. It never surfaced in him before.
Never. No, he never really said anything racist at all about anybody. It was just, I think somehow I was talking about the Holocaust, and he just looked at me and said it didn't happen.
Wow.
And that was it. And that's one of those subjects I simply did not want to go deep into.
Yeah, I don't go there either. I'm not interested.
Yeah, so but it really caused me to split from him. I think that was the start of a split.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your honesty on that, and I appreciate it. It's interesting. It's just another part of the tale, isn't it?
Got one last thing to say.
Sure.
Do we have a minute?
Sure.
So I remember Al opened up his wallet one time, and there was a picture he was looking at of a young man. And that was the only time that I saw any emotion in him. And I said, "Who's that, Al?" I can see the picture in my mind. but he said, I'm not ready to talk about it, but they gave him AIDS and took him away from me.
Wow.
And that's all I know.
Wow.
He wouldn't talk about it, but we can surmise.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you surmise?
Well, the easy thing is to say, maybe through all these experiments and all that, it turned him gay. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But that's the only time I saw any emotion is when he looked at that picture.
Did he ever talk about a significant other? Man, woman, doesn't matter. Husband, wife, interest, love interest, ex-wife, anything? Just that picture?
Yes. No. In his other lifetime, he talked about children and wife and all those people, but not this lifetime.
Right. Ed Cameron.
Yeah. The Cameron lifetime, he was married, he had children.
Right.
Great life, great dad, great everything.
But as
this
Al Bielek,
lifetime, he hated his dad. We didn't talk much about his mother. He didn't seem to have a very good life.
Wow. Al Bielek, thank you so much for sharing. And, I would like to keep the invitation open anytime you would like to come back on. If there's anything else that breaks or anything else that you find out and you would like to talk about it and so forth, please come back on the show. I feel like we just literally, no pun intended, but scratched the surface tonight. But it had to be spoken about, and you don't do this. And I want to thank you again for coming on the show and sharing with us. And it's tough, but you were there and you did it, and we need to hear about it. So thank you, Michael.
I can't believe I still remember this after 15 years. But wow, I remembered a lot. I tried to put it out of my head, but it's still there.
And now today you're in the reptile industry. Just tell us a little bit about that, and you never know, the audience may be into collecting reptiles and may need to feed the little guys or big ones. Yeah. What is it that you do now?
Well, the reptile industry is about a $6 billion industry, maybe bigger. You'd be surprised how many people have snakes and bearded dragons and geckos and stuff like that in their house. They're very passionate about it. They either love them or hate them. So the people that love them, I created a couple of companies that will actually provide the live feeders for them. Like a bearded dragon's a lizard, and they eat live crickets. So I created premiumcrickets.com and georgiacrickets.com, and on that site, people go there. We have farms. They order crickets. We ship them to their house, and they feed their animal. And we ship about 2 million crickets a week out. That's how big we've gotten.
Wow.
The other part of the business is people on the internet are breeders, and they may breed geckos or snakes or something like that. And they will sell these live animals to other people. So I provide a shipping service through FedEx to ship that animal once it's sold. So I developed all the packaging, and we manage the pickup, the shipping, and the delivery of these things. So we do. Yeah, my reps. My FedEx rep, I'm her biggest account. So we've grown pretty big.
Like 20 years ago, I had a roommate, and he goes, "Hey, man, let's get a gecko." And right? And he goes, and see, what you do is you let the gecko free in your house, and you never have insects. Right? That was the story I got. So we buy this gecko, bring it home, put it on the coffee table. Gecko kind of runs around. I was like, oh, okay, kind of cool. Never saw it again. Ran off the table. Never saw the gecko ever again. And so it was like a month later. I remember saying, man, did you ever see that gecko? No. You ever see that gecko? Never saw it again. So we went and bought another one, right? Bring the gecko home, throw him on the coffee table. We look at him for a few minutes. We talk about him. Gecko runs off. I think we saw him on the wall. Never saw the gecko again.
Well, they're nocturnal. That's why.
They only
come out at night.
Never saw. As far as I know, those geckos are still in that apartment somewhere in Hollywood. Hey, Michael, thank you for coming on, my friend. And anytime, I would love to have you back. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, if Al time travels back to me, we'll both go on.
There you go. And all the links for Michael are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Thank you so much, Michael.
Have a good evening.
You too. Have a great night. Michael Houtzager, everybody. It's kind of funny you hear me say at the end of an interview like that, how great. But it was all that. But this is the thing about Al Bielek. Go and watch when you hear firsthand references back to Al. His interviews are incredible, but he's not here with us anymore. But it was Michael, 24 hours of interviews with Al Bielek. And you heard Michael say in the interview tonight that he was with him 40, 50, 60 times. And so he got to know the man. And we don't have a direct connection back to Al Bielek. Now, what I want you to do, once you go, and you can go to Bielek.com, it's right there. Easy enough. The links are at Jimmy Church Radio. The DVDs are there, and he's got quite a few. So go and do that. But when you watch the interviews and you listen to Al, I want you to go back and remember this evening and that side of it. And who Al was and the background. It's so important. I have many, many, many evenings listened to Al's story, fallen asleep, dreamed about it, listened and gone back and literally spent weeks like that. And he's the one guy out of so many that I wish I could go back and interview. But you'll remember tonight, with Michael Houtzager, this interview tonight, when you go and listen to Al Bielek. Tonight after the show, that's your homework. Go and do it. Thank you so much, Michael. Now, in reaching out to Michael, listen, he's like, you know what? I just don't do this anymore. I don't do it. And he agreed. But I think he agreed because it was not going to be the fantastical side of things. I wanted to know about Al. I want to know about Al. I want to know about Michael's relationship with Al. That's and we got that tonight in spades. So thank you, Michael. Go to Bielek.com, get the DVDs, check it out, and remember this conversation tonight, because that's what this show is about. And I want to thank everybody. Now, really quick, a couple of things broke over the weekend that I wanted to talk about tonight. And conspiracy related? Yes, I want you to listen to this. A week after an arrest warrant was issued for Ethan Couch, the affluenza teen, for violating his probation, he remains missing. Authorities have not yet pinpointed the location of the kid and his mom, who 2 years ago killed 4 people in a drunk driving crash. The judge let him off. Could have done 20 years in prison. Should have done more. Judge let him off. Was the judge bought? Is there a conspiracy here? How can any judge... The right thing to do in a case like this, I don't care if he's 16 or not, you go, you get drunk, and you plow down, and you do what you do, and you end the lives of 4 people, seriously, critically injure so many more, that you just walk away. And that's what happened. And now he gets caught in a video playing beer pong at a party. Whether that's a violation of his probation or not, it doesn't matter. As soon as that video surfaced, him and his mom disappear. Now, today, the Tarrant County, Texas Sheriff's Office announced that Tanya Couch, his mom, has been listed as a missing person on a nationwide database. Unbelievable. Now, what do you think is going to happen once he was caught? Dennis just said the judge was bought off. Yeah, exactly. Something's weird here. But they're going to catch him. He's certainly got the money, him and his mom, to split the country. They suspect that. Who knows? But how is it possible that they are not able to follow plane tickets, boat tickets, credit card statements? Are they running with cash? How are they going where they are going? And how are they not able to know where they are at? We're not talking about unknown people, people with fake identity. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about two known people. How do they not know where they are right now? That is fascinating. And when they do catch him, if they're not in a country without extradition agreements with the United States, and they bring him back, does he go to prison? Does he go for 10 years? Because he received 10 years probation. Is that what's going to go on? Or is he going to be able to get out of it? It's a talk about conspiracy. And you know who has to answer for this right now? That judge. Enrique Marquez, the man accused of purchasing the rifles used in the December 2nd massacre right here in San Bernardino, California, was denied bail in federal court today in Riverside, California, about 10 miles from the scene of the attack. The judge ordered Marquez to be held without bail until a January 4th hearing, calling him a flight risk. You think? How about those pictures of Marquez looking like Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky fun guy at the party? You know, that guy that would sit on the copy machine and, well, you know. Unbelievable. The United States and Cuba have agreed to restore scheduled commercial airline service between the two countries for the first time in more than 5 decades. Exactly a year after they started the process of normalizing relations. The United States and Cuba have agreed to allow 110 round-trip flights on U.S. airlines to Cuba per day. That's right. This is according to Thomas Engel, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Transportation Affairs at the United States State Department. That includes, and this is what's interesting, that includes 20 flights to Havana and 10 to each of the other 9 international airports in Cuba. I didn't know that there were 9 international. I thought there was only Havana. Didn't know that. 110 round-trip flights per day. Now, it's not like, and before you think, and that's what's misleading about this, you got to love the mass media. It's not like you're going to have the ability to go down to Southwest Airlines and purchase a round-trip ticket to Havana and jump on a plane and go visit Cuba. That's not the case here. Man, you've got to be like a student on a research trip. You know, you got to be some kind of there isn't flights just winging it, and you're going to be able to just jump on a plane and go down there. It's a little misleading. But 110 round-trip flights per day, 20 flights to 9 other international airports in Cuba a day. It's crazy, isn't it? But again, like I said, you've got to have your ducks in a row. You have to have a reason to go. But I was just going to say, and then Bob tweeted this out, maybe you could say you're a cigar tester. You know, you write for Modern Cigar Magazine. Well, it's happened. The national average price at the pump has officially fell to $1.99 per gallon, down from $2.44 this time last year, and that's according to price tracker Gas Buddy. Even in the more costly regions of the country, such as right here in Los Angeles and New York, Washington State, a gallon of gas is well below $3. But California is still the only state where the average price of gas is still above $2.50. Filled up the car the other day, it was $2.99. So, well, we got to do premium. But we don't enjoy this. It's one of the most frustrating, angry things that, and I talk about it all the time. So we got a few minutes left here before the end of the show. Just tell me. I know I saw some posts from the Fadernauts around today taking pictures of your gas pumps and proud of it. $1.49. I can't believe somebody listening to this show right now is paying $1.49 for gas. I don't even know the last time I saw that here in California, but it has to have been 15 years ago. Okay, Spiritual Warrior right now, Dan is saying it's $2.25 in Pennsylvania. Okay, that's the first tweet that's come across. Really quick, we got a couple minutes left. What's everybody paying for gas around the country? I just want you to make me feel angry. That's all. Just get me fired up. What are you right here? $2.50 in Nevada? Really? $1.40 in New Mexico? $1.40? $1.79 in Ohio. $1.76 in Findlay. Where's Findlay, Beverly? Where's Findlay? But what are you guys paying around the country? I just want to see it really quick. Is somebody actually paying $1.49? I saw the posts that were going around on Facebook today. Seriously, $1.49? Man, they just give it to us here in California. And I'm not kidding. Let's see here. $1.30 a liter in, so what is that? $1.30 a liter? Is that $2.60 a gallon in Australia? $1.65 in Oklahoma. Oh, man, you got it going on. So you can literally fill up your tank, 12-gallon tank, $1.61 in Shreveport, Louisiana. Look at you. And that's from Cat. So you could fill up your tank, a 12-gallon tank, for like $15. Oh, man. Oh, that is just crazy. That is just nuts. Well, you guys enjoy it and save that money, go fill up the tank, and go drive somewhere on Christmas. I miss those 8-hour drives. I'm going to leave you with this, everybody. We posted a video. Oh, hold on. I got Barrett. Let's see here. What does it say? $1.77. He just took a picture. $1.77. Where is that at? Let's see here. D's Oil. I have no idea. It's a travel center somewhere. $1.77 a gallon. $1.88 in Manchester, New Hampshire. There you go. Filled up her tank today for $16. See, I wasn't kidding. That's unbelievable. Okay, I got to get out of here. But we have a video that we posted over on our Facebook page. Go over and check this out. A Texas witness in Galveston reported watching and videotaping a clear circle-shaped silent object slowly moving overhead. That's what it is. It's a MUFON case number 57336. Go look at the video. This thing looks to me like a cloaking thing that maybe the cloaking, the batteries were shorting out. I don't know how to explain it, but it's moving across the sky and distorting what's going up. And it's big, and it looks a little disc-shaped, like there's a shadow behind it. It's shot on a cell phone. It doesn't look CGI'd to me, but I'm just saying go and check it out. I need your comments, and then we'll talk more about this tomorrow. All right, this is Fade to Black. Thank you, Michael Houtzager. Absolutely fantastic conversation tonight. The life and times of the late time traveler, Al Bielek. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar, Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Drew worked his butt off today. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night, right here, a little Flat Earth with Mark Sargent. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2015 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.